In the midst of her seemingly perfect life, Lee Jiyeon, a beautiful and loving housewife, begins to feel tension in her marriage with her husband, Minho, a successful executive who always seems confident. One night, after hearing rumors about Minho's involvement in corruption, Jiyeon decides to investigate and finds shocking evidence. Her husband is involved in illegal transactions. When she also finds out that Minho is having an affair with a young, ambitious woman, Park Soo-jin, Jiyeon is devastated. After Minho is arrested and imprisoned, Jiyeon, who was initially down and out, begins to pick herself up again. She returns to work as an interior designer, finds new happiness in her work, and slowly rebuilds her life, even though the shadows of her past still follow her. Lee Jiyeon sat on the sofa in their spacious, opulent living room, gazing around with a serene smile on her face. The home, carefully constructed over years of hard work, felt like a dream realized. Everything was just as she had always imagined it: the elegant furniture, the gleaming marble floors, the soft glow of the chandelier that illuminated every corner. Beside her, her husband, Minho, a tall and striking figure with sharp features and perfectly combed hair, sat looking over some documents. He was her pride, the man who had built this life for them. Their children played in the background, their laughter filling the room. Lee Jiyeon was convinced that everything she had ever wanted in life was now in her grasp. A loving husband, beautiful children, and a home filled with warmth. Yet there was something, a subtle shift that she couldn't quite place. A sense of unease lingered in the air. Minho had become increasingly distant, returning home later and later, his reasons for staying out often vague. He seemed distracted, always looking over his shoulder, and more frequently, avoiding eye contact. It was unlike him. The very man she had loved and trusted was now a mystery. As she sat there, the flickering light from the fireplace reflecting in her eyes, Jiyeon couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something wasn't right. It was late one evening when Jiyeon's suspicions grew undeniable. She stood by the window, gazing out at the city lights, the faint hum of Seoul echoing through their luxury apartment. Minho had said he was staying late at work, but something about the way he had said it didn't sit well with her. It wasn't just the fact that he had come home late again, nor the hurried tone in his voice. It was the way he avoided her gaze, the way he locked his phone screen whenever she passed by. She stood there, contemplating, her mind racing. Was he hiding something? She had always trusted him, but now doubt had crept in like an unwelcome guest, one she could not ignore. The warmth that had once enveloped their home now felt cold, and the air seemed heavy with unspoken words. Unable to bear the uncertainty any longer, Jiyeon decided to follow Minho. Her heart pounded in her chest as she waited outside their apartment, watching him leave the building in his perfectly tailored suit. She clutched her coat tightly around her, staying a careful distance behind him. He walked quickly, his head down, and Jiyeon felt a chill run through her as she trailed him through the dimly lit streets of Seoul. He entered a building that seemed unfamiliar, and Jiyeon's curiosity overtook her. She couldn't stop now. She stood there for what felt like hours, watching the entrance, the growing dread inside her building. And then, just as she thought she had imagined it all, Minho emerged. But not alone. He was accompanied by another man, someone Jiyeon didn't recognize. Their conversation was hushed but intense, and Jiyeon caught a glimpse of the briefcase Minho was carrying. It was thick with papers, but what they contained she couldn't say. She stood frozen in place, a feeling of dread sinking deeper into her chest. Minho, the man she had loved so dearly, was involved in something far more sinister than she had ever imagined. Later that night, Jiyeon's curiosity led her to Minho's office. His laptop sat there, alone waiting. The temptation to look was too great. She opened it slowly, almost reverently, as if she knew what she might find but could not bring herself to believe it. Documents and spreadsheets flooded the screen, but as her eyes scanned the files, one in particular caught her attention. A list of transactions, numbers, dates, and names. It was all there, plain as day. The deeper she scrolled, the more her heart sank. Minho's name was at the top of every page, connected to large sums of money and dubious transactions. This was no mistake. Minho, her beloved husband, was involved in a corruption scandal that threatened to destroy everything they had built. Her mind reeled, unable to process the enormity of the betrayal. As if the revelation of his corruption weren't enough, Jiyeon's search led her to something far worse. Park Soo-jin. A name she had seen in Minho's emails, in his text messages. It was the name of a woman, young and attractive, who worked in the same field as Minho. At first, Jiyeon had dismissed it as a work acquaintance, but the more she investigated, the more she uncovered. Soo-jin wasn't just an associate. She was much more than that. The truth was staggering. Minho had been having an affair with Soo-jin for months, perhaps even years. Their relationship was no longer a distant rumor, it was the very heart of the deceit that had been plaguing their marriage. Jiyeon's stomach turned as she stared at the photos of them together, smiling in places that she had once believed to be sacred to their family. The betrayal was complete. The moment of confrontation came sooner than Jiyeon had anticipated. She had to face Soo-jin, the woman who had stolen the man she loved. The meeting was set. Jiyeon arrived at the cafe, her heart beating wildly in her chest. She had imagined this moment 1,000 times, but no amount of preparation could have readied her for the cold reality. Soo-jin sat there, calm and composed, as if she had no reason to feel guilty. Her beauty was undeniable, but Jiyeon saw through it. She saw the manipulative woman who had played a role in the destruction of her life. Their eyes met, and in that instant, Jiyeon felt a flood of emotions, anger, betrayal, and above all, a deep sense of sorrow. "Why?" Jiyeon asked, her voice trembling, yet firm. "How could you do this to me?" Soo-jin smiled, her gaze never wavering. "I did nothing wrong. It was Minho who sought me out." The words hung in the air like a thick fog, suffocating Jiyeon. The woman before her seemed unfazed, but Jiyeon's heart shattered further with each passing second. Jiyeon's world was crumbling, and she could feel every foundation she had built under her feet begin to crack. She could no longer live in denial. Minho's betrayal, his corruption, and his affair, they were too much to bear. The question she had been avoiding had now become unavoidable. Could she continue living this lie? Or was it time to face the truth, no matter how painful? She looked at her children, innocent and unaware of the chaos that was unfolding around them. She couldn't let them suffer because of Minho's mistakes. She had to act. But what could she do? How could she escape this nightmare without losing everything? The inevitable finally came. The police arrived at their door. The man she had once admired, her partner, the father of her children, was taken away in handcuffs. Minho's face, usually so confident, now appeared pale and vulnerable as he was led out of their home by officers. The shock was too much for Jiyeon to process. She watched helpless, as the man she had spent years with was driven away. It was over. Her marriage, her dreams, her life as she knew it, all of it was gone. And yet, in the midst of the overwhelming grief, Jiyeon felt a strange sense of relief. The burden of uncertainty was finally lifted. As the days turned into weeks, Jiyeon found herself trying to rebuild. She returned to work, something she had put aside for years. Her passion for interior design, once buried beneath the weight of her family life, began to resurface. She worked tirelessly, transforming homes with her unique touch. Slowly, she began to regain her confidence and independence. The journey wasn't easy, and the memories of Minho haunted her, but each passing day made her stronger. The woman who once felt so helpless now stood taller than ever before, knowing she could face anything life threw her way. With time, Jiyeon realized that she no longer needed to look to anyone else for her happiness. Her children, her career, and the newfound sense of freedom gave her a sense of purpose that she had never known before. Miho's betrayal had left scars, but it had also forged a strength within her that she never knew she had. She had finally let go of the man who had once meant everything to her. And in doing so, she had found herself again. The journey wasn't easy, but Jiyeon had learned that sometimes, the greatest strength comes from the most unexpected places.